UCSD, a.k.a. 3-Point U. That's all. We all need a nickname. They stand out there, and Eric Olson's team just bombs. It's absolutely amazing how many three-point shooters he's got. They had 13 threes the other night in their win. And now, with the fact that Cal Irvine lost at home on the weekend, Tritons are in first place, which means number one seed, Big West Tourney, which means they get 2 rounds off. Does this look like an NCAA tournament team to you once they win the conference?
I mean, this is just mind-blowing. First year of eligibility, and they could potentially be in March Madness. But I think, to your point, I think the stars are lining up for them. They are hitting their three-point shots. They play great defense. High, it's UCSD, so it's high IQ basketball. So they're doing a great job, and you got to be thrilled if you're a student or an alumni.
Can't be thrilled across town at the University of San Diego. This is miserable for Steve Lavin. They're now 4-25. The women's basketball coach got fired on Sunday night. She was 6-21. I just don't think this bodes well for Steve Lavin. And I think the bigger issue to me, and their assistant to the president is Kai Schneider, who is a huge sports guy. They really need to step back and take an evaluation how they're supporting their basketball programs, and are they doing enough? Do they need to do more? They've got the football program resurrected, but that in essence is non-scholarship Division III football. The basketball program has gone to the NCAA tournament way back in the years with Bill Greer. They need to do an evaluation of why this has gotten so bad, because this is pretty bad right now. And I think Lavin's job, sadly, is probably going to be in jeopardy. I don't know how much of the percentage ratio is on him for the inability to recruit, or is the ratio much bigger because they have NIL issues at the University of San Diego in terms of support. They can't hold on to their players, etc. Not a good situation for a good coach, but boy, this thing has really gone off the track.
Steve Lavin's a good guy. You can't blame him. This whole NIL thing, transfer portal, it's wild. I mean, they lost Wayne McKinney to the Aztecs.
Yeah.
Imagine how much better he would have made the Toreros. But talking about USD, but the football program, they're not Division III, aren't they? Like,
they're 1AA, but in essence, they're pseudo Division III. No scholarships, etc. And if they have good seasons, they could go to the Division 1AA playoffs, but in essence, they're Division III because they don't give out grants.
But that's, I think, FCS, right, these days.
Yeah.
But then as far as UCSD is going, man, it's just terrific. So let's just hope those guys go on a big run.
Okay, last topic on the table as it relates to college basketball. I will say some things you probably won't agree with. Let's talk about coaches and controversy. University of Arizona loses at home to Brigham Young, 96-95. This BYU team is really good. Hard fouls, coaches blow-ups with referees, a really ugly incident for a second time in 2 weeks involving Tommy Floyd, the U of A coach, and his players. University of Arizona students stood behind the bench at the end of the game against BYU and yelled at Brigham Young players, "F you Mormons," and went on and on and on. University of Arizona, by nightfall, had apologized to Brigham Young and to the Big 12 Conference. They should be fined for what their students are doing. But it's almost like entitlement that Arizona players, that head coach, and Arizona fans think they can do anything they want. 2 weeks ago, there was an incident at the end of the Arizona State-Arizona game where Arizona blew them out. It got hard fouls, flagrant fouls, ejections, technicals, and Bobby Hurley refused to shake Tommy Floyd's hand and took his team off the floor with 1 second to go. Big 12 did nothing at that point in time in that situation. So this is really ugly at the University of Arizona. It should not be tolerated. The Big 12 needs to get involved. Hell, if the Big 12 is fining schools $250,000 because their fans are flooding the floor after upset wins, there ought to be a hefty fine at the University of Arizona for their student body who chanted "F you Mormons" through the end of that game. That's terrible. And you got this coach and you got these players with attitude and these confrontations and incidents and hard fouls. Just really an ugly story. So we'll talk about that. Let's talk about UCLA for a minute. Depends what week of the year on the calendar, how good they are versus how badly they played. It's really erratic, but they played really well. and they started to come together. Although Mick Cronin is a little bit off the charts, whining and complaining and bitching about everything. Just teach your guys. Quit worrying about all this stuff on the periphery. They got a good team. They're finally coming together. But boy, the way he's acted is just way off the charts. And by the way, off the charts or off the radar screen, how about Eric Musselman, USC? He left a really good thing that he developed at Arkansas, and they're a pretty damn good program, to come here and disappear off the radar screen. USC is 14-12. Nobody goes to their games at the Galen Center. They have all these one-year rental players, and they're not on anybody's radar. Why would Musselman ever leave something really significant in a basketball hotbed to come to Los Angeles to coach a USC program that's had no historical success with any consistency at all and is obviously subverted to USC Trojan football? And across the street is UCLA with its heritage. Musselman have any regrets? Nobody's paying attention to Southern Cal basketball at all. And then the worst topic was what happened at Fresno State. And this is really bad. 3 of their top players removed from the team. There's an investigation going on that Fresno State basketball players may have been betting on games. Were they betting on their team to win, their team to lose? Were they betting on games to pocket money? They're 5-22. It's just been a disaster of a season. And now there's a sentiment that if this scandal flips the way it looks like it might be going, because there's 2 investigations going on, that maybe Fresno State might be uninvited by the Pac-12, which would be catastrophic to that school, its football program, which is trying to pick itself up off the ground, and a basketball program that's lying in the gutter. And this 3 players removed, 2 of them, their leading scorers, betting on games. And by the way, the point shaving has occurred in the past at Fresno State in the Jerry Tarkanian era.
Yeah, I remember that.
If you remember that.
Tark the Shark.
Yeah. So there's a bad set of circumstances at a couple different locations. So, John, would you please help Mick Cronin at UCLA before he self-destructs and melts down? Do you agree or disagree with me? Musselman have regrets over doing what he did coming to Southern Cal? And if you feel like talking about the University of Arizona and that coach and those players and the entitlement of the fans and then the Fresno State situation, the floor is yours.
Oh my God, so much on the table there. Fresno State's a weird thing. Like every once in a while, they're really good. You know, I remember one time they knocked off USC in football one time when they were like a top 10 program. This is like 20 years ago. But yeah, it's not looking good. But the Pac-12 can't get rid of them because they need to get another football team, a football school. And now they might have to go get 2 if they let go of them. The other comments real quick is on the University of Arizona. Clearly the FU Mormon thing, that's obviously way over the line. But, you know, a lot of these student sections, I mean, they're pretty rowdy, you know, and they call out. I mean, even the show in San Diego State, the Herd up at Utah State. I mean, the Herd puts out like a bulletin list of all the personal notes about players so they can rant on them and poke at them. And so, yeah, there's this going on. But again, you can't really blame, you know, the coach at Arizona for what the fans are doing. That's more of a student-wide, you know, university-wide issue. Like president of the university needs to step in there.
Even if the coach perpetuates the atmosphere that exists in the building.
Well, what did the coach, what was the reason that Bobby Hurley wouldn't shake hands at the end?
Because there were so many flagrant fouls and there was so much crap talk from Arizona players to everybody. He was just so offended, and that's why he would not shake Floyd's hand. That's why he took his players off the floor in the final second of the game, because he was afraid there was going to be an incident in the handshake line, and Arizona's had incidents in the handshake line prior to.
Really?
Yes.
No, I don't. It doesn't make any sense. U of A, man, the Lute Olson era, that was a clean program, wasn't it?
Yes.
Has it all just gone downhill because they've had multiple coaches now that have gotten into trouble.
So, ugly situation.